Anti-government protesters continue to occupy a number of buildings at a wildlife refuge just outside of Burns, Oregon. The group first marched the streets of Burns Saturday to protest a federal judge's decision to send rancher Dwight Hammond and his son Stephen back to prison to serve more time for an arson charge they already served time for. Well, hours later, they took over a building at a wildlife refuge, saying their message now is to fight for everyone's constitutional rights. Jennifer Dowling goes beyond the headlines with more.
These are some of the buildings. Over here is the garages.
Protesters at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge gave us a tour of the now occupied headquarters.
There is a wonderful cook shack. That's where they fix the meals. And
inside a kitchen, we found one of the members making soup.
Try to warm them up.
Others showing us their sleeping quarters.
Real comfortable. You know, they got showers and it's like a giant dorm, college dorm, I suppose.
It's cold, and so we do use the buildings to stay warm and out of the weather.
This grandpa from Arizona, Lavoy Finicum, was involved with the Bundy Ranch standoff, in which Ammon Bundy's father, Cliven, and armed protesters clashed with law enforcement.
This is the way we found it, and this way we'll leave it.
He says they're making a point to tread lightly on this property.
Do you just have a code of conduct, or what do you do?
Oh, you try to just be respectful, be a good neighbor, don't tear anything up.
As for how they got in,
well, I don't should say this, but I'll say it. There's a whole stack of keys.
You found a stack of keys.
Yeah, I didn't, but there's keys to every place there. So no doors are broken. You can see there's no kicked in doors, no broken windows, no vandalism.
Was the keys accessible?
I didn't find them. It was someone else.
But things do get serious when it comes to security. At this encampment, there are details watching above in towers and also folks surveying on the grounds. Ammon Bundy, the leader of this takeover, spoke today with a constitution in his pocket.
Now this refuge here is rightfully owned by the people.
He said they decided to take over the property because he claims this refuge has been trying to push ranchers out, including the Hammonds, violating their rights.
The ranch is adjacent to the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge and to have private property up on the Steen Mountains. They have refused for nearly 40 years to sell their ranch. And there have been very vindictive behaviors because they refuse. There have been intimidations, and the list goes on.
If the federal government decides to use force, will you respond with force as well?
That would have to be determined at that time. I would not be able to report on that.
Are you prepared to?
Absolutely.
As for how they will survive on the property, well, Ammon says that they expect donations of supplies to come in from all over the country. He said some were delivered last night. In Burns, Jennifer Dowling, KOIN 6 News.
And late tonight, the FBI released a statement saying it's working with local law enforcement to address the situation. Harney County Sheriff David Ward issued this statement about what's going on at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. He writes, "These men came to Harney County claiming to be part of militia groups supporting local ranchers, when in reality, these men had alternative motives to attempt to overthrow the county and federal government in hopes to spark a movement across the United States. We are currently working jointly with several organizations to make sure the citizens of Harney County are safe and this issue is resolved as quickly and peacefully as possible." And this weekend, KOIN 6 talked with residents of Burns who have mixed emotions about all of this. While some locals marched with the group, others felt it was too much, some even posting signs to protest the protesters.
I want them to go home. We take care of ourselves here, you know.
I don't think that all of these outsiders coming here is necessary. I think they intimidate the local people.
And a family friend confirmed to KOIN 6 that both Dwight and Steve Hammond are in Southern California, set to turn themselves in tomorrow. And earlier today, we talked with Senator Ron Wyden, who's keeping tabs on the situation in Malheur County. He says he's been in touch with the FBI in Portland, who's coordinating with the Oregon State Police and the Sheriff's Office in Harney County. This week, Wyden will be talking with people in Eastern Oregon, and he says what's going on at the Wildlife Refuge will likely be a hot topic for discussion.
These are small communities, and a lot of them are really hurting economically. And as I've indicated, I understand that frustration. But the next step from that frustration is to not walk off a cliff misled by some outsiders who just seem willing to take the law into their own hands.
And KOIN 6 will stay on top of this story and bring you updates on air and online at KOIN.com. And Chief Meteorologist